Welcome current seventh grade families and families of future Prairie View eighth graders. We want to thank you for taking some time out of your evening to spend with us to learn more about eighth grade at Prairie View and what the registration process looks like for courses for next year. We hope to give you a little bit of taste of what eighth grade's like, especially for those families whose oldest child will be coming through for the first time, and it'll be a new experience for you. Um, there is a Q&A button at the bottom of your page. If you have questions along the way, feel free to ask questions in that Q&A section, and we will respond to those throughout the meeting as we're able. And then we'll have some time at the end of our orientation to be able to answer some questions that are typed in there as well. And beyond this meeting, if you have questions, you're always welcome to email or give us a call, and we'll have our contact information available for you as well. This meeting is being recorded, so if there's something you want to go back and hear again, we will get it posted on the Prairie View website, hopefully as soon as tomorrow. So without any further ado, we'll get going. I think we're all thankful we're not venturing outside tonight to meet in person. So the convenience of being online is pretty nice tonight. So if we go ahead and go to the next slide, we'll do some introductions here. My name is Mark Stallman. I am the principal at Prairie View. We have Kevin Tao, who is the assistant principal at Prairie View, and then Justin Ohl is our activities director. Brittany Cunningham, who is not with us tonight, but she will be our ninth grade counselor next year. Angie Gillick will be our eighth grade counselor next year. And then Ed Slauson is our student services specialist. He will also be counseling several of our eighth and ninth graders next year. So we'll go ahead and we're going to take you through some different parts of this, and we'll share some of those duties amongst the five of us here.
Good evening. For those of you that are planning to become involved in activities with your peers and new friends, you'll find a variety of the clubs or sports that we offer. In the left column, you'll notice several sports that you can join. And on the right side, you'll see a mixture of offerings from fine arts to special topic groups. We offer some informal groups that will pop up throughout the year, and we encourage students to join those groups that are led by teachers who are passionate in that area. We are proud of what's offered because we feel there's a spot for everyone since the extracurriculars are so varied. As an activities director, I would definitely encourage you to be involved with one or more because I think it helps build connections with other peers and staff members. But it also helps you become more well-rounded. And your involvement also looks really great to trade schools, colleges, the military, and future employers. So we really hope that you get involved.
Sorry about that. I'm Kevin Tom, the assistant principal. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about an overview of your day. Prairie View runs on an 8-period day, and we deliver that with what's called a team approach. And what that means is that a student science, social studies, and language arts teachers will all be on the same team and work with the same group of students, and oftentimes the same group for math as well. This allows teachers to get to know your kids, and if there are ways that we can support them, we can do that in a group effort and not just separate from each other. We offer traditional core classes, so math, science, language arts, social studies, PE, and health, plus electives. And that may include we'll talk about some more about electives, but either a 1-semester, 2-semester elective, or sometimes a study hall as well. We have a group called PLAN, which is our advisory program, and that meets on Tuesday and Thursday mornings at the start of the day for about 20 minutes. And that's just a great place for teachers to meet with a group of students and connect with them throughout the year and answer questions about 4-year planning, about some of our college and career readiness skills. It'll feel similar to the advisory program at Waukee Middle School, but with a little less frequency and just another smaller community to connect with at school. A regular day runs, this would be typically Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And classes are 44 minutes each with a 4-minute passing period. Students have a 30-minute lunch, and we have 3 lunches that are a mixture of both 8th and 9th grade. Students eat in the commons area, Students get pretty excited because we don't have assigned seating typically at an 8th and 9th grade level, so it's a big deal. And they are allowed to use their technology if they're not eating. That works out pretty well. Again, we do 3 lunches, and that happens somewhere between 4th and 5th hour. So either before 4th, after 4th, or after 5th hour. And that may change from 1st to 2nd semester, depending on the arrangement of classes. Our school day starts at 7:55, not 8 o'clock, but 7:55, and then ends at 2:50. And students can ride the bus. Bus riders sometimes take a shuttle over to get on their homebound bus at Waukee Middle as well. Angie, I'm going to pass it to you to talk about a typical schedule.
Thank you. Just a glance at what a typical 8th grade schedule might look like. With 8 periods in the day, 5 of those class periods, and this is not the order necessarily that classes will be in, but 5 of those class periods will be core classes. So language arts, math, science, social studies, and then health or PE. And we do not have A and B days. So health will be every day for one semester. PE will be every day for the other semester. And then you have 3 periods left for elective choices. Our core classes last all year long, and some elective classes are for a semester only. Others are for the entire school year. We do have choices for electives when you get to Prairie View. As I said, we do have some electives that last all year long, and those are every day, all year. Those are Spanish 1, German 1, band, and choir. And then the electives that are a semester for every day would be art, speech and theater tech, family consumer science, robotics and engineering, and study hall, which you can choose for either 1 or 2 semesters.
Okay, that brings me to my part. High school will be shortly around the corner for many of these students, all these students. So one thing that they'll need to start thinking about is the graduation requirements. And as you see on the screen, there are 53 credits to graduate from Northwest High School. I almost said Waukee, hard habits. Language arts, there'll be 8 credits that you need. Speech is included in that. Math is 6, science 6, social studies 6. Health is a required credit that can be taken during your freshman year or any other year. And PE, you'll need 4 credits. You'll take PE once each year. And then also the financial literacy, that's a new state requirement that's required for students to graduate. And then once you get into the electives, you need 21 electives. Now, electives doesn't mean it has to be outside the core. If you're earning more than 6 credits of math, more than 6 credits of science, those will also count as elective credits. And please take note, one thing you do not see on there is that language arts or foreign languages, world languages are not required to graduate high school. So they have plenty of time to take those in high school to meet requirements to get into colleges. Students will be receiving these registration forms that you see on the screen now, and it's pretty self-explanatory. As far as the top part goes there, you'll see that the core classes are filled in. What's in there is that the choice that you'll need to make is for PE. There's a regular PE class and also a strength and conditioning class. You'll see the 6 blank spots there. And what students and you as parents will need to go through is to pick out what courses the students would like to take. And down towards the bottom there, you'll see there's 2 semester courses, band, choir, German, and Spanish. Each of those courses will fill 2 boxes up at the top. And then the 1 semester courses, art, speech and theater, automation, robotics, family consumer sciences, those will fill 1 spot. And 8th grade students could also choose to take a study hall, and they can take 1 each semester if they'd like. If you see the little asterisks there, little carrots, take note that those classes do count as high school credit in 8th grade. So many students will be earning or can be earning high school credits while they're in 8th grade. And here's an example of one that's filled out. Notice the PE is circled there. That's all we ask your student to do is pick one of those. And then each of those 6 blank areas have been filled in. We like to think that everybody's going to get their first choices for electives, but it always works out that there's a few students that just doesn't fit into their schedule. And again, you'll have plenty of time to take those elective courses throughout high school. So we do ask that students pick 3 alternate choices. So please fill in those 3 boxes there with something that has not been filled in those top boxes. Just because you put art twice in there doesn't mean you're going to get it.
I'm going to talk a little bit about the timeline. Thanks, Ed, for the help there. Just from a timeline standpoint, we'll be distributing course request sheets, those ones that Ed showed, the blank ones, on January 10th. And then those course request sheets should be turned back into the student's language arts teacher at Waukee Middle School. Those teachers will keep track of those until January 27th. And then Mrs. Gillick and myself will come over to Waukee Middle and we'll help kids get registered, get those courses entered in their language arts classes. So we do this, we've done this every year. It goes pretty smooth. It takes about 1 period. We get those entries in there, and then from that, we look at how many classes we need and we build a schedule off of that. As far as schedule changes go, I know it's easy that students will want to change their minds, but we do hiring, and we also base class numbers based on those requests. So once the semester started, schedule changes for the current semester are not allowed unless there's either a mistake in the student's schedule or some level change is necessary. So we put people in the wrong math class or a wrong section of foreign language or something like that. Those schedule change requests are taken in the order that they're received, and they go through a schedule change request form, and we process those first through email and phone call request after we've done all of the schedule change request forms. So the schedule change request form that's on the website, that is the best way for a student to enter that in. That lets Mr. Slauson and Mrs. Gillick, Ms. Cunningham go through and be very systematic in how that runs through. Mark, I'll let you do some contacts here.
Yeah. So one thing we didn't mention that some people usually curious about is what about lockers? We do issue lockers to all of our students. We do limit access to lockers. We've learned through our experience last year that students don't need to go to their lockers all the time. So locker access is limited to before and after school, and then adjacent to lunches. So before and after their lunch period. Otherwise, throughout the day, students may carry backpacks and take any materials they need for the first half and second half of the day around with them. I know that's a common question. If you have other questions that pop up, you're welcome to go to our Prairie View homepage. There's actually a Q&A form on there. There's a FAQ page as well. You can submit questions through there. You can submit questions to us through email, through any of the contacts listed here, or you're welcome also to give us a call. We do ask that any specific questions regarding courses first go to your counselor at Waukee Middle School. They can answer those questions most directly and most quickly, and get you what you need from there. So that's a quick overview of what Prairie View 8th grade will be like for students next year. We're going to stick around here for a little bit. If you have questions that you want to drop into the Q&A section, we will be here to answer those questions. So thank you for your time this evening. Feel free to drop in some questions, and we'll be here to answer those.
We got a question here initially that just says, are sports teams try out for 8th grade? If yes, what's that process and when does it begin? I'm not sure if this records. I want to make sure anyone who sees that recording gets that answer. Mr. Ohl said, we do not have tryouts. Any student who would like to participate is on the team. We also have multiple teams, so everyone has the opportunity to participate. Our sports begin in the fall on the first day of school and then different times throughout the year. We try to communicate through Parent Square when those new sports are ready to begin Do students have lockers in PE? Yes, they do have lockers in PE, and locks are issued from our PE teachers.
To add on to that, our PE teachers this year have been very flexible. So if students are wearing clothing to school that is workout appropriate and shoes that are workout appropriate, they may wear those during PE, but they also have the option to bring their PE clothes. I think that is the same that Waukee Middle is maybe doing right now as well. I have a question here about, can a child participate in multiple bands? We only have one band available. We do have jazz band, which would be an addition. That's an extracurricular band in 8th grade. I guess I'd need to hear more specifics about what you might mean by other bands. We have a good question here. What's the difference between PE and strength and conditioning? If you actually go to the Prairie View webpage, there's a link on there under students, and it says 8th grade registration. You'll find a link there that lists all of our electives, and they give a description about all of the electives. So you can take a look on there. Just for a quick overview, PE is more traditional. What you probably experience now at Waukee Middle School. You're learning different activities, learning about different stretches, different sports. Strength and conditioning is going to be more focused on lifting, stretching, flexibility, where you're going to be in the Prairie View Fitness Center working out each day. I have a question here about what kind of choirs are being offered. So we have choir, which is part of the curricular day. We also have show choir. And I believe jazz choir is only in 9th grade. So that's not offered in 8th grade yet. A question about football tryouts. We don't have tryouts. If you go out for football, you are on the team.
Question about choirs here. What kind of choirs are being offered? We typically have mixed choirs depending on the number of registrations. There have been times where we've had a lot more gals that have gone up for choir, and at times we've had a women's chorus. But usually that's a mixed men's and women's, or mixed high and low parts, I should say, for choir. And those are offered for 8th graders. Coach Ohl, is there, it says, I didn't see baseball on the list of activities. Is that not offered till 9th grade? Can you speak to
Correct.
that?
Baseball starts at the 9th grade level.
Concert band is on the activities list. That would be the same as regular band as a course. So jazz band would be the only extracurricular band. Mark Stallman, I'm going to let you answer the first one on this one. What sets PV apart? What do you like about the school and the community? It's a great question.
That's a great question. So I would say what I'm probably most proud of is our teachers. They will go above and beyond to get students where they need to be. The number of times that we have kids who need an opportunity or need a level of support, and teachers are willing to be creative and figure out ways to get students what they need. I think that's something that really sets us apart. I know that we're proud of that in all of Waukee. I've served in a number of buildings in Waukee, and I believe that's something that's even more unique about Prairie View, is that the willingness of our teachers to go above and beyond for students and give them opportunities to get them where they need to be.
I'll add on to that a little bit too, that teachers work collaboratively, and I really believe in that team approach. And so we're working as a staff, and how do we better support kids collaboratively and not just individual periods throughout the day. And we have great kids. I mean, I just have to say, even on my hardest day at work, I still come home and go like, we have great kids. So thank you for all the support and all your work with your own kids as well. Angie, Ed, or Justin, would you like to add anything to that question?
I don't have anything else to add. I think you guys said it wonderfully.
All right.
I agree with all that.
Yep, I would agree. I think it's been really exciting just to see how our kids have grown even since the start of the year and just how involved they are in so many different things. That's really awesome.
Another thing that sets Prairie View apart from Waukee Middle, it's a lot easier to get around. So I would say Waukee Middle can be a bit of a maze. So if your kids are worried about that, don't panic too much on there. What does mock trial consist of? We have a mock trial coach, and then students learn how to participate in how the legal system works, and they prepare defenses and arguments. And we've got coaches that meet with them after school. They do a really nice job. They get dressed up, and then they hold trials, and they compete with that. Is that accurate, Mark?
Yeah, and we actually have one of the top mock trial programs in the state at the 8th and 9th grade level. So Mr. Hicks is the coach. He knows the process very well, and teams have been very successful, and we've had a lot of kids interested in doing mock trial. So yeah, we encourage you to get involved in that. It's been a fun experience for a lot of kids.
There's a question, will 7th grade math teachers let you guys know which math classes they go into? How do we know which one they need? So honestly, the way I will probably register that is I will look at the class they're in right now, and then I will put them into the next correct math class. But ideally, I'd love it if students can enter that in. So they'll look at the schedules. I'll work with kids. Angie and I will be there and follow that through. But we double check that and look that over. If there are changes in that, if there's either an acceleration or just pacing things back a bit, we work with the math team over at Waukee Middle to make sure they get in the right spot.
Yep, so there is a sequence of math courses that's typical for most students, and that's where we begin. We also work with math teachers at the 7th grade level to determine if there are kids that need to follow a different pathway than the typical pathway, and that could mean moving at a faster pace. It could be moving at a slower pace, but we do coordinate with Waukee Middle on figuring out the best fit for that next math class.
Justin, when does basketball season start?
Yes, at the 8th grade level, we have split seasons. So our females, they go in the fall and they go for 8 weeks. And then over break, then we'll get started. We just started 8th grade boys basketball practice on Monday. So, and that's another 8-week season.
Thanks, Joe. How do we navigate if 2 activities overlap for band and cross country? So we would prioritize performances and competitions over practices, if that would line up there typically. But I will tell you that our coaches and our band directors do a great job of coordinating to say, you know, what's best for this kid in that situation. Usually we haven't seen any serious interactions on there that we're worried about.
Yeah,
as far as
I would say at the 8th grade level, I can't remember anything recently where there's been a conflict between those.
Yeah. We do not have a separate boys volleyball team, correct, Coach Ole?
Right. It's not state sanctioned, so we do not have a state volleyball or state sanctioned volleyball team. There is some club teams, but it is gaining some steam around the state to get that started.
Yep. As far as options for color teams, there are 3 color teams right now on 8th grade and 3 at 9th grade. Next year, as we're growing, we're going to have potentially, we might have one team that's a little bigger or smaller, but they're just simply blue, red, and green color teams. Those color teams are, there's not a big difference between those, and we don't have preferences that are expressed for families within those. And I'm super proud of each of those teams within that. The only place we might have a little bit of clustering sometimes with a special population like English language learners, we might cluster that on one team just so we can concentrate some of our supports on there. But there will be special ed and ELP across each of those different teams as well. Mark, you want to speak to parent involvement and how parents can get involved?
Yeah, that's a great question. So typically we don't get a lot of parent volunteers at the 8th and 9th grade level. So I'm glad we have that question. I think it depends on the individual parent and what they might be interested in doing. We do have opportunities, our librarian has parent volunteers a fair amount. We might have a setting in a classroom where students might need support with reading or some math support where we've offered that before as well. But it really depends on the individual needs from year to year and the individual skills of the parent wanting to volunteer. So I would say if you're interested in helping out, contact me individually and we can see what would be a good fit.
I have a question here about students needing to stay with the same foreign language in 8th and 9th grade. They do not need to take the same foreign language. If the goal is, if it's entry to college, sometimes either entry or graduation from college may have a foreign language requirement, and usually that is of the same language. If there was a student that was really passionate about learning different languages, we have had students who take one class in 8th grade and one in 9th. For 9th graders, we typically prioritize making sure that they get access to those foreign languages because they're getting less time. But we have had students who switch from Spanish to German or German to Spanish across there. Justin, can you speak to when volleyball season starts, the frequency of practices, and swim season? I don't know if you got that already.
We'll go with volleyball. Volleyball, again, starts on the first day of school. And typically they'll have 3 to 4 practices each week and either 1 or 2 games each week. Again, that's an 8-week season as well. Swimming begins in February and it's a little bit shorter season. They have 4 meets and that wraps up prior to spring break.
And the question here about mock trial overlapping with sports. Yes, they can do both. We have kids who do mock trial and math counts and sports. It is a great time to get connected. So I'd encourage kids to try lots of different things out. We would, is there a limitation number of sports you can play? Because of how the seasons stack up, most kids can try each of those sports moving through there. It's not too much of a problem. Mandarin is not currently a language we're planning on offering next year. From a staffing standpoint, currently the district has had support for just Spanish and German at this time. A question we didn't have in here that you'll find out later on. Students at Waukee Middle are currently using iPads. Laptops will be a shift on there. So Mark, you want to talk to laptops briefly? I know we're a little late on questions here, but.
Yeah. Yep. So students will all be given a MacBook Air as they enter into 8th grade. So you'll turn in your iPad at the end of your 7th grade year and you'll be issued a MacBook at the beginning of your 8th grade year. So that will be a new responsibility. You'll have the computer, the charger, and then we'll go through some new processes because not everyone is familiar with MacBook and the iOS that's on MacBook. So we'll do a little orientation with you on that. And then we'll get you going from there. You'll also have access to Canvas, which you should already be familiar, and you'll be able to access that through your computer as well.
I think we've answered most of the questions in the interim for now. So if you have any further questions, we would certainly encourage you to shoot us an email or give us a call. We are here to serve you guys. And Mrs. Jillick and I will be helping out to register kids here in the next couple of weeks. So look forward to meeting your kids in person and really appreciate everybody showing up tonight.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night. And James, I'll answer your question offline here.